Hi guys, welcome to our channel of Sciences and Mathematics. Today we are going to look at a concept in reproduction, and that is a reproductive system in humans. Now the reproductive system in humans forms one of the broader categories of sexual reproduction that we talked about in our first video. And this is going to give us an insight on how the process of coming up with a new offspring occurs, especially in humans. I'm going to use the illustration on the board that I've given in order to explain the various parts of the human reproductive system. Now, today we're going to create emphasis on the male reproductive system, and in our next video we're going to see on how, in conjunction with the female reproductive system, they're going to facilitate this process of reproduction. So without further ado, thank you and welcome. So as I've said, today we're going to look at the reproductive system in humans. And basically, we're going to create emphasis on the reproductive system in humans, and that is the male reproductive parts. Now, on our illustration chart that I've given on the board, we have this section of a male reproductive system. And this is part of the male reproductive system that I've expanded for the sake of illustration. On the lower part, we have the female reproductive system. And this is the expanded form that's essential part of the female reproductive system that I've done in expansion. So basically for today, we're going to rely on the upper part and trying to discuss on how the male reproductive system or its role in the reproductive system and how its various parts combine together in order to facilitate that specific function. Now, the male reproductive system plays a vital role in the production process, whereby we'll find that it is in this male reproductive system where androgens such as testosterone, which is an hormone, are produced, and this plays a role in the maintaining of the male reproductive functions and promotes the process that we call spermatogenesis. Now, spermatogenesis is a process whereby sperms are formed in this specific part of the reproductive system that we call the testes. Now, we're going to look at that specific concept in a separate video under the concept of spermatogenesis and oogenesis that entails the formation of the male and the female gametes. So, apart from the male reproductive system playing a role in the production of androgens, just like or example for testosterone that we have mentioned, it also facilitates the transfer of sperms into the female reproductive system to facilitate fertilization, which eventually leads to the development of a fetus and a new offspring. So therefore, it is essential for us to know different parts of the male reproductive system and how they work together in order to facilitate this process of fertilization and coming up of a new offspring. Now, generally, as we said, reproduction in humans is an internal, it's a sexual reproduction that occurs internally in the female reproductive system, and the development of the fetus takes place inside the female reproductive system. And we're going to see later the function or maybe the reason as to why that one is the case. Now, the male reproductive system is made up of several functions, as I've said, which collaborate together to form a full cycle of, or rather, to provide a full cycle, or rather, complement on its general role as a part of a human body that facilitates reproduction. Now, this is made up of various parts. The first one is testes, that we mentioned in our earlier video, which we referred to as the male gametes, where the male gametes are formed, and this is the male reproductive, essential part of the male reproductive system that form the gonads, the male gonads. So therefore, this is where the sperms are produced, which basically are the cells that facilitate the process of fertilization when they combine with the female reproductive gametes. So the testes are suspended outside the abdominal cavity, and this, of course, their location or the suspension in the abdominal cavity provide a cooler environment for the formation of sperms in that process that I've referred to as spermatozoa. Now, the process of spermatozoa occurs in this specific environment, And then inside these testes, they are made up of several coiled tubules, and these are the ones that I've just illustrated on the right side of the board, just an expansion of the sperm and inside. So these several coiled tubules are known as the seminivorous tubules, which are found within the testes. Now these tubules consist of actively dividing cells that we refer to as primordial germ cells. And on the layers of these actively dividing cells, we have what we call the germinal epithelium that we're going to see playing a fundamental role in the formation of these specific sperms. Now, these highly coiled tubules that we have referred to as seminiferous tubules, they join together this specific part to form this next part that we call the epididymis. Now, the epididymis is a long coiled tube that, of course, acts as a storage for sperms which have been formed in these specific tubules. Now, this epididymis can stretch, and as I said, is a long coil, and we're going to see that one of its characteristics of having that particular nature is to increase the surface area for the storage of sperms and other functions that we're going to mention. Now, in this case, this epididymis joins to the vas deferens, referred to as a sperm duct. The function of this sperm duct is to act as a passage, or allow the passage of the sperms from this specific area of formation or storage into the urethra. Now, in this case, from this particular junction, I'm going to combine it to this area, whereby we have specifically talked about the functions which are occurring inside the testes. And now, from the vas deferens, the sperm joins this particular part. Now, this upper part, we have a bladder. This is a urinary bladder that is in this specific part. So we're going to see that the junction between the urethra and then this sperm duct form a urogenital organ, which basically refers that this organ is a combination of the urinary and genital organs that play those two specific roles, and their role is to expulsion of urine and sperms at the same time. So basically, we're going to see that this particular duct that comes out of this to form a section of the urethra, as we're referring to as the sperm duct and the urethra, the function is to expel the urine and the sperms, and therefore facilitate the junction between the male, facilitating the junction between the bladder and this sperm duct, to ensure that the sperms move out in order to go and join the ovum in the female reproductive system. Now, apart from these other parts that we have mentioned, which are forming the male reproductive system, we have other accessory organs like the seminal vesicle, which I'm illustrating on the board, this one, and then the prostate gland, or the corpus bulbourethral gland, whose functions is to secretion of some substances which mix with the sperm to form semen. And then for the prostate and the corpus gland, it's the production of course, they produce a secretion that is used to activate sperm movement. And in this case, of course, we're going to see that this substance that I've mentioned, that is known as semen, plays different roles when we are going to look at the process of spermatogenesis. Now, and this lower part is part of the male reproductive system that extends out, which is a spongy tissue, of course, of muscles, which is filled with blood in times of intercourse, to facilitate the transfer of the male sex cells, which are the gametes, into the female reproductive system, in order to ensure that there is fertilization and formation of a zygote. So in this case, we're going to see that in conjunction with the female reproductive system, the male reproductive system plays a vital role in ensuring that The species which is formed, of course, consists of its genetic parts from the parent male organism and the female by transfer of the sperms from the system, from the process of formation through the urethra into the female reproductive system to ensure fertilization occurs. Now we're going to look at fertilization as an exclusive process whereby we're going to mention a few other areas or essential parts that are needed, or maybe processes that are needed to ensure that the successive fertilization. Now that is when I will talk about the concept of the female reproductive system, and in summary, so that we can be able to combine the concepts of the two and understand how the process of fertilization occurs. Now in a summary, we're going to see that as we have said, it is the formation of sperms in the testes, and basically the testes, which are made up of seminiferous tubules, and these are highly coiled tubes that join together this epididymis where sperms are stored, and the vas deferens assist in transferring of sperms into the, of course, the urethra and through to the female reproductive systems during intercourse. So in this case, we're going to see also that the seminophysical prostate glands that we have talked about act as accessory organs that produce some secretions which mix with, of course, the sperms to form a fluid that we call semen. Now, I hope that this is going to assist us in trying to understand a part of the reproductive system that we need to know, especially the male reproductive system when it comes to humans. So I hope that that one is understood, and it's going to form a basis for us in trying to discuss other reproductive processes that are going to follow in our next video. So let's meet in our next video for the female reproductive system. Bye, God bless.